Hello friends, in this presentation we will be studying the money stock measure in India. Along with that, we will study the new monetary aggregate which was recommended by the working group under the chairmanship of Dr. Y.V. Reddy in 1998. The working group recommended for two measurements of money supply, that is the monetary aggregates and the liquidity aggregates. And lastly, we will study the weighted monetary aggregates. This presentation is useful for the students of money and banking and financial economics. Now, before discussing the measure of money stock, we first see the theories of money supply. The transaction theory of money views money essentially as an inventory held for transaction purpose. It is generally considered as a narrow measure, while the asset theory of money is a broader approach in which different financial assets are regarded as an alternative way of holding wealth. It is considered as a broader measure of money supply. In the present slide, we can see different financial and real assets arranged in descending order with reference to liquidity. So in this inverted pyramid, first comes the currency and demand deposit, which is the most liquid asset as they are the medium of exchange. Then comes the time deposit and the government bonds. They are liquid assets but cannot be converted into medium of exchange without incurring some cost. Last is, at the bottom of the liquidity continuum lies the real estate and automobile, etc., which can be liquidated at a short notice only at a substantial cost. Now, the central bank classification of monetary aggregates is based either on the functional characteristics of monetary assets or the institutional distinction between banks and other financial intermediaries. Let us see the money stock measure in India, where we will study the monetary measure into four categories: M1, M2, M3 and M4. M1 consists of currency with the public, demand deposits in banks and other deposits with RBI, while M2 consists of M1 plus post office saving deposits. M3 consists of M1 plus time deposit and M4 consists of M3 plus all post office deposit, that is saving deposit and time deposit in post office. Now, if we consider the monetary measure in terms of liquidity, we will find that M1 is having a highest liquidity. As we move down from M1 to M2, M3 and M4, we will find that the liquidity goes on diminishing and M4 is the least liquid. But if we consider the criteria of money supply in terms of the returns, that is the rate of interest on it, we will find that the returns is lowest in M1 because it is highly liquid, but the returns are highest in M4 as it is least liquid. Now let us see the difference between M1 and M3. M1 is also called as a narrow money and M3 is also called as a broad money. As we already know that M1 consists of currency with the public, demand deposit in banks and other deposits with RBI, which is highly liquid in nature. Whereas M3 consists of M1 plus time deposit in banks. It is less liquid as time deposit element is included in it. M1 is often called as a money on wings because whenever money is required by the depositor, they can easily withdraw it through ATMs, checks or electronic payment in no time, as there is no locking of money as it is done in time deposit. But in M3, money cannot be easily withdrawn in short notice as there is a locking of money in form of time deposit and therefore it is less liquid in nature. If we talk about the rate of interest, M1 there is no parting with liquidity for a long period of time and no need for sacrificing the present consumption. Therefore, interest rate is very less in M1. But in M3, there is a reward for parting with liquidity for a long period of time and sacrificing the present consumption. Therefore, the interest rate is very high in M3. Now let us see the difference between M1 M3 and M2 M4. M1 M3 consists of all deposits in banks. There is no post office component in it. While in M2 M4 there are post office saving component along with the savings in the banks. As far as control and administration is concerned, M1 M3 are controlled by Central Bank of India, that is RBI. Its saving rate and lending rate are decided by the central bank in its monetary policy, whereas M2 M4 are controlled by both the central bank and the Government of India. The saving rate and the lending rate for M2 M4 are decided by RBI and Government of India together. It is important to know that M2 M4 has given importance to post office deposit because large part of saving in India, done especially in rural area, still rely on post office for their financial transaction. Now, after financial liberalization and deregulation of financial institutions in early 1980s, the need arises for appropriate measurement of money. The conventional measure of money supply in M1, M2, M3, M4 were just a sum of monetary aggregates which were derived from a simple summation of relevant assets. Therefore, the working group under the chairmanship of Dr. Y.V. Reddy in 1998 recommended for a new monetary and liquidity aggregates. Now let us see important features of new monetary aggregates. Working group differentiated monetary aggregates from liquidity aggregates on the ground of nature and functioning of institutions. New monetary aggregate segregates the sources of monetary change under different sectors consistent with UN System of National Accounts 1993. Working group redefined money as a set of financial aggregates whose variations could impact on aggregate economic activity. Bank credit to commercial sector was broadened to include non-SLR investment besides the conventional bank credit. In new aggregates, foreign currency liability of a bank have been identified explicitly, which led to more accurate compilation of bank's net foreign asset. Now let us see the need for the new measures of monetary aggregates. As we all know that India introduced its new economic policy of liberalization, privatization and globalization 1990s. Financial liberalization in India during 1990s led banks in India to resort to non-traditional sources of funds under increasing competitive pressure. Financial liberalization led to huge inflow of foreign capital in form of foreign direct investment and foreign institutional investment in Indian market. Many foreign banks, private banks and non-banking financial institutions started to crop up and expanding their business in India. As a result, distinction in operation among various financial institutions was almost blurred. Along with that, there was a large increase in the role of non-depository corporations in Indian financial markets. Now let us see why the working group segregated liquidity aggregates from the monetary aggregates as a measure of money supply. Introduction of liquidity aggregate was done in order to have appropriate measurement of overall liquidity. Regarding non-depository corporations are concerned, after deregulation, the share of these corporations in total financial assets have been increasing, which has led to overlapping in areas in jurisdiction across various categories of financial entities. It was also expected that introduction of liquidity aggregate would provide magnitudes of monetary and near money liability issued by NBFI. As far as postal deposits are concerned, as they are the part of the government, postal deposits have been excluded from monetary aggregates and they are now the part of liquidity aggregates as a depository corporations. Along with that, the deposit liability of non-bank financial institutions are also included in liquidity aggregates. Regarding residency criteria, IMF manual recommends exclusion of non-resident deposits from monetary aggregates on the ground that such earnings are used primarily for international transactions rather than domestic transactions. Such deposits are used in settling transactions in home country. Therefore, IMF manual recommend their inclusion only in liquidity aggregates. Non-resident foreign currency deposits have also been excluded from deposits and from monetary aggregates, while non-resident rupee-denominated deposits have been retained as a part of deposit and monetary aggregates on the ground that these are integrated in domestic financial systems. Now here comes the new monetary aggregates, which are of four types: NM0, NM1, NM2, NM3. Here N stands for new. NM0 is also called as the monetary base or the base money. It is currency in circulation, bankers deposit with RBI and other deposits with RBI. NM1 consists of currency with the public, demand deposit in banking system plus other deposits with RBI. It is same as earlier M1. NM2 consists of NM1, time liability portion of saving deposit, certificate of deposits, term deposits with a contractual maturity up to 1 year with the banking system, excluding foreign currency deposit. And NM3 consists of NM2 plus term deposit with a contractual maturity of over 1 year with the banking system, excluding foreign currency deposit, plus call borrowing from non-depository financial corporations by the banking system. Now here comes the liquidity aggregates, which are of three types: L1, L2, L3. L1 consists of NM3 plus all deposits with post office saving banks, excluding NSC. L2 consists of L1 plus term deposit with term lending institutions and refinancing institutions, plus certificate of deposit issued by financial institutions. L3 consists of L2 plus public deposit of non-bank financial companies. Now lastly, we will see the weighted monetary aggregates. Economists like Fisher, Carlyle, Friedman criticized the conventional approach of monetary aggregates. They called it as a simple sum index, and according to them, it is a worst index because it possesses two undesirable properties, that is biasness and freakishness. Simple sum monetary aggregate implicitly assign equal weight to all the components, which is inconsistent with the economic theory. It is like measuring transport vehicle. It is absurd to aggregate physical units like car with a bullock cart by simple summation. Meaningful economic measure would be weighted sum aggregate with weights reflecting relevant values. Same principles ought to be applied to monetary aggregations. Simple sum aggregation would be justified in terms of economic theory only if components are perfect substitute to each other and elasticity of substitution between any pair of component is infinite. That is, simple summation of currency and time deposit would be justified if the degree of moneyness associated with two assets is same, which is not true at all. On that ground, we conclude that the conventional simple sum monetary aggregates are undesirable because they treat distinct and imperfect substitute for currency as a perfect substitute and distort the monetary aggregates badly. Chetty, an Indian economist, in 1969 argued that each monetary asset has certain degree of moneyness associated with it. An appropriate measure is not just which assets are to be included in the measure of money stock, but how much of each asset is to be included. Therefore, a logical approach to monetary aggregation is to construct monetary aggregate covering all assets, giving due weightage to the degree of moneyness. That is, how much of each asset is to be included and which assets are to be included in the measure of money stock. Now we have seen the advantages of weighted monetary aggregates over simple sum aggregates. Monetary aggregates duly weighted by degree of moneyness of its component would be quite appealing, but the use of weighted monetary aggregates in India is still not achieved. Major studies in India context shows that empirical attempts have not been succeeded in generating weighted monetary aggregates because there are several conceptual, practical and empirical problems in its construction. The inability of weighted monetary aggregates to outperform the simple sum aggregate essentially reflect the deficiency of operationalization rather than conceptualization. Now, what is the road ahead? What to be done? The need is to continue our efforts to resolve the operational problem and get the accurate weighted monetary aggregates. So if you have any question on the present video, please leave your question in the comment box and like and subscribe my channel to get further notifications. Thank you so much.